Today we are going to do some worm transfer. We're going to set up a worm bin specifically for the chickens because I'm wanting to feed them some wormy treats, but I kind of like my worms and they're for my garden, so I don't want to just grab them from the bin. So in my mind I'm going to keep them separate, but anyway, we have everything we need and also our little helper. So I'm going to be using this small Folgers coffee ground container just because this is what I have, and I already filled it with some of the coffee grounds from this morning's coffee, so they're all wet and stuff, so that'll be good. But this is what we're going to be using. So we've got cardboard, corrugated cardboards. Worms love it. The smaller the pieces, the faster they'll break it down, but I don't mind having larger pieces. They'll process it pretty quickly. We have dirt from the backyard. Our yard is very sandy, so this is going to be the grit. These are the used coffee grounds. Some people say it's grit, some people say it's not grit, so I add sand anyway. I just grabbed it from the backyard because we have sandy ground. You can use fresh plant material like from your garden, any trimmings that you want to do, as long as you don't have any pesticides or herbicides on it, and it's not diseased, because as you know, worm bin is a cold process. It does not kill off any bacteria, disease, seeds, or like fungus or insects or things like that. So any contamination you put in your bin will stay in your bin and it will not be killed because it's too cold to kill anything, because your worms need to live in it. We have frozen food scraps, some potatoes that weren't very good, banana peels. Worms love banana peels. And then our bedding material, this and the cardboard, just shredded paper. I'm using the packaged paper that comes in a lot of boxes. And then of course the worms, I'm transferring it from our previous worm bin because worms will propagate as the environment needs it. I'm using some of the bedding to inoculate it, some of the roses that didn't get processed because they can't process that quickly, so they just kind of stay in there, and I don't mind. If you do mind big chunks, don't put woody or avocado pits or things that are hard to process, like corn husks, or not, like the corn cobs, things like that. If you want fine material, put soft things like potatoes and bananas and things like that in there. All right, so let's go ahead and so yeah, I would recommend poking holes in the bottom of it, but I haven't because firstly, I think I'm going to transfer it into a bigger container, and also my worms don't really get too wet of an environment. There's no extra liquid at the bottom, which actually is telling you that there's too much moisture that you're adding into your bin, so add less moisture. I don't really need to add any moisture. I mean, I add the food and the wet bedding, but they're pretty self-regulatory. Like they don't get too dry, and they aren't they're not spilling water out the bottom, so I'm not concerned about it. If you find that you have that issue, I would poke holes in the bottom of it for drainage, but I'm just not even gonna worry about it. I think it'll be fine. So anyway, I have the coffee grounds in the bottom. I'm gonna floof up the bedding. It's a little kind of extra moist. Like you can probably see, let's see. Yeah, you can see the water dripping out of it. but you squeeze the water out, and then you just want to fluff it up. And then I'll put a little layer in the bottom, and then I'll check on my dog because he's being naughty. Okay, so I just kind of mixed it in with the coffee grounds and floofed it up a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a thin little layer. God bless you. Thin little layer at the bottom, and now I'm gonna add the food, the actual food items. So they're gonna eat everything in their path. So the bedding will be consumed and the food, but you still have to feed them and you still have to provide them with bedding. Bedding they live in, food they eat. So put the little food in, and we're gonna put some of the grit in. Boop. And then they'll eat all that, and then the leafy greens will count as food as well. So I'm just going to add more bedding, fill it all the way up to the top, and then put the worms in. Okay, so I added it all the way mostly to the top, but you know, whatever. They'll eat this down, and as they do, you'll just add more bedding at top, feed them about once a week or when you notice the food is gone, and then you don't have to bury it that deep, but I just made the bin, so that's what I did. And then I'll add a little bit more of the grit, just so that when they're chomping their way down, they can have some grit. You can use eggshell powder as grit as well. If you put eggshells in it, even small broken up pieces, they won't be able to process that easily, and that's not really grit. It'll break down eventually, but I mean, I put this in my worm bin. You can still see the membrane and the shell pieces. I'm not worried about it, but again, if you're worried about it and you want it to be processed completely and fully, well, then give them powder, because that'll be grit, and like you can see the chunks that I have. I put avocado pits in there. They grow, they die, you know, it's whatever. Hi, wormies. But anyway, all right, so now I grabbed a few worms, maybe like 5 or so worms in here, and now we're just going to transfer them in. Boop. Okay, and then they'll work their way and have a happy little home for my chickens. So this will be my, sacrificial chicken feeders. You want to give chickens no more than 10% of their diet in red wigglers. They are very healthy, but they are considered a treat. So you don't want to overfeed them with worms. Okay, so those are some of the worms that I put in there. You can see I have other critters in there as well. I'm not concerned about them. They're just helpers, not considered pests. Pests would be like fruit flies or fungus flies, and you don't really want those because, oh, it's okay, girly, it's okay. I know. Because they'll be pests and bother you. So if you do have pests like fungus gnats, you can put a thick top layer of dry bedding material on top. That'll help deter them. If your container gets too wet too, you're noticing a lot of extra fluid, you want to dry it out a little bit, so you would add dry bedding to it as well. Okay, I'm just going to add my remaining materials in here just because I don't want to put it back, but I moistened the paper towel to protect the wormies. They're fine if you put stuff on top of them, but you know, might as well protect them a little bit by not putting dry material directly on top of them. Not gonna break it up, not gonna moisten it. I'm just gonna dump it all in here. It'll either get wet or it's at the top, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm not concerned. I'll check back on it, make sure it's still the right dampness, like a wrung out sponge, and if I need to make adjustments, then I will. My baby girl. Yeah. Are you tired of chilling there? Yeah, I understand. Okay, let me get this cleaned up and we'll get you comfy. All right. Pretty self-regulating as long as you don't have too much moisture. Hey girl, hey, 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 it's okay. You're okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.